Welcome to my first show ever. Doesn't have a name, does not need to have a name. We don't care about that right now. We're just flowing with truth. This show is going to be all about interviewing the most amazing and intriguing guests. And I just happen to have one of the best right here sitting in the chair in front of me, Adamantia. Been an absolute diamond in my life, a source of truth, light, and now an illuminator of shadow. And I'm so happy to have you.
Hello.
So just a little bit, first of all, I have a name. The show doesn't have a name, but I have a name. It's Karina Loren Sebulak, and I've been doing personal growth work for about 11 years. And I have to truly
long time.
Right? Yeah, I mean, I should be like amazing by now. I've done hypnotherapy. I've learned how to speak to crystals. I pretended that I understood what they said, FYI.
Yes.
I've done energy work and energy healing and all kinds of spiritual programs out there. And I have to say, and I'm not just blowing smoke up Adamantia's butt here, but
You can if you want. I don't have a problem.
it's going to happen. So I've never experienced so much freedom and awareness all at once as I have with your course, The Shadow Code. I actually had no idea how much I was functioning from a place of shadow. My first question to you is to just tell us a little bit about your experience with shadow in your life and the miracles you've experienced in your work.
Okay, whoa.
Big question. I know.
First of all, I have to rewind and say, considering all we did is just say, press record and have no plan, that was very good.
Oh, thank you.
I think you are fabulous. And thank you for sharing this space with me today. I mean, I'm extremely excited. I've always enjoyed being in the field with you. And what is the field? I mean, that's a whole different conversation, but that's what we're in right now. And I mean, I've always loved your energy. And so this is very exciting for me. So exciting. I'm not even sure what you just asked me. I don't know. There was a question.
There's a question in there somewhere. Why don't we start? You know what? That was a big question. That's
probably why it went.
It was like, hey, give us the 30,000 foot overview of your life. Go.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
so
yes.
So one of the things that has always amazed me about your story is that MS had manifested itself in your body and you manifested it out. And so my question to you is, do you think that others have access to something like that? Or does it all come down to belief? Like if you believe hard enough, you can heal yourself.
Small question?
Yeah, this is the smaller question. Okay.
Okay, let's just go with the healing from an incurable disease. And what do you think? Well, yeah. I think it's awesome that it happened. I did cut off the end of your question, but I think I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And it is a big question. I mean, in all seriousness, it is, because all of a sudden right here, Karina, we've just entered the realm of the soul. And so any conversation that is going to be at that level is not going to be a small conversation. First of all, because the listener's personal programming, conditioning, and lived experience beliefs are already present, even as we approach a subject about the soul or anything, really. And so I do want to name that, because part of transcending shadow is realizing that everything that is coming into our world is being streamed through our consciousness. And if it's being streamed through shadow consciousness, which it is everywhere, then that is the programming, the conditioning, the fears, the false beliefs, et cetera, et cetera. So, but to go back and to tap on that, do I believe that it's just believing that one can heal? And they can. So I'm going to say yes, but there's always an and you're probably going to find that a lot with any answer is it's not just this, it's this and this. Because the realm of spirit, there is no duality. It's not like, yes, every time for everybody, if they just believe, then they too can heal from an incurable disease. Because we have to bring the soul's journey in as well. What is that soul here to experience? And at the same time, it's not limited to like, okay, when the soul's experienced that, it's done. So it's so is it possible? Yes, of course it's possible. Is it possible? Yes, of course it's possible. And one has to remember the and. What is that particular soul's life experience?
Right. So it's an individual journey, one might say.
Yes.
Like
yes.
a pathway that one has to take.
Yeah.
And also what I'm getting is that it's not just sitting around believing, which leads me to my,
Exactly.
what do you think about words of affirmation? Such
Yes.
as I remember years ago affirming, I am a good mother. Yes. I am patient. I am a good mother. Yes. I am patient. And then I'd fall flat and trip all over my triggers and lose my mind at my kids.
Yes.
Like, where do words of affirmation sit in this?
Look, that's great. I mean, there's a whole multi-million-dollar industry built on positive affirmations, and it's limited. Again, it's limited. And honestly, Karina, could have a whole conversation just about manifesting and how that industry or that field is capped. It's not complete what they're teaching about that. So affirmations, yes, of course. I actually started with affirmations, to be perfectly honest. When I started on my healing journey, what happened is, well, two things happened. First, I hit very extreme bottoms. The first one was with the disease of alcoholism. And then as I started to awaken and heal from that, which is a story in itself, I started to apply the same principles onto my body when I realized that anything is possible. Because if that's possible, if I can get sober, MS is nothing. Like, no, literally.
Yeah, I got goosebumps
to the extent that if I wasn't in this lifetime and here to transcend alcoholism, I would have still had MS. I probably wouldn't have healed from MS. That's how powerful the field of addiction is. It brings people down to their knees in a much different way. Having said that, addiction is everything. Let's not just say, okay, the alcoholics or the drug addicts, like the addiction. We have a lot of other conversations we could have here. So this kind of ties in to what you said about, do I believe that anybody can heal? The other thing that is being taught out there is like, if you just believe it, and you just believe it, and you just believe it and do all these things, then yes, you will heal. And if you don't, guess what? You're doing something wrong. And so that's a whole different rabbit hole. And then somebody goes into, I'm doing this wrong. I'm not healing. It's my fault. And then you're, just smother victim consciousness on top of disease, which is victim consciousness as well. So affirmations, the same thing. They're kindergarten. You do need kindergarten. If you're streaming your affirmations through shadow consciousness, which I'm going to say you are. People, everyone is. Yes, everyone is at different levels, of course, of what that means. And the affirmations are somewhat useless, and yet nothing is useless. And so again, that's looking at the individual. So I had to, that was part of it in the beginning, but it wasn't the only thing. It was one part of it. I had to actually go deep into the depths to actually find out what the root issues were. What was my soul here to transcend? It wasn't just positive affirmations. I'm healthy, and then I'm healthy. And why was I sick? It's not just like, it's not random.
It's part of a package, basically. You're not just sitting there like,
yes,
I am healthy. I am.
Yes. Eventually what happens, the difference between positive affirmations and manifesting what you want and all that, and transcending shadow, is that transcending shadow is not something you don't have to try to be healthy when you're transcending shadow. You become healthy as a result of transcending shadow. Whereas with positive affirmations, I'm going to say my positive affirmations 1,000 times a day, and then I'm going to do this 1,000 times a day. I'm going to have to keep doing this forever, right? What we're talking about here is a shift in consciousness. I actually had a psychic change but it's very clear that my soul came in here with the opportunity for that. And it was, I mean, there were so many things even from the womb that it was like, you're waking up in this lifetime. Like there is that as well. There is, you know, again, look at the individual. What is your soul here to experience? Mine was going to wake up in this lifetime. I mean, there's just no question about it.
Yeah. Sometimes I think that people go, you know, they're just comfortable with their discomfort. It's almost like,
Yes.
hey, I'm used to the set of problems and I've just
Yes.
accepted it.
Mhm, mhm.
And I'm going to just say right now, I am a yo-yo sugar dieter. Like it's a problem. I'm obsessed with sugar. I always have been. It was my first addiction. It was like if I could sneak, steal, hide away sugar and eat it whenever I wanted, I would 100% do that. Like I would
Yes.
take gum off the street because I wasn't getting it at home. And I was like, I mean, it's been stepped on. It's got
Hey!
shoe prints. The saliva's gone.
There's
We're
nothing
good.
wrong with picking up a cigarette butt off the street, is there? I mean,
Right? Drinking other people's drinks. There's
addiction needs to be fed.
Oh, absolutely. And so
I
this
mean,
is,
that's why there's no judgment. Addiction needs to be fed. It's not even personal at that point, actually.
yeah. And so that's something I wondered is that, you know, so the sugar addiction and the cravings and this feed into almost what I would say more shadow consciousness, because then it's like, I don't have the drive to exercise.
Yes.
I can't commit. I'm not good at commitments.
Yes.
And it's almost like I see it dripping in shadow. And so I wonder with something like that, where look, my sugar addiction at this point is not life or death. I'm not really hitting a bottom other than I don't feel great about myself.
Yes.
And I eat all the candy that's currently sitting over there at my island. I keep buying it. I go, I'm not going to buy it, but then I buy it. And so there's that, just that kind of seeping in like, ugh, I've failed. And so
that's even more deadly.
Really?
It's even more deadly than the addictions or the behaviors or the shadow that brings you to your knees where it's so obvious.
Yeah, because I could see it going on forever. And then one day I have
forever
diabetes.
For lifetimes, forever for lifetimes. Yes. Yes. And that's why it's, when I'm working with someone and I see that the level of brokenness, like again, look, this isn't black and white. I've worked with people that haven't been, as I say, broken or have going through a dark night of the soul, actually, because it's not broken. We're not broken. Or, you know, worked with people going through a dark night of the soul, and then it's like they're cracked open, they're ready, right? But I also have worked with people who are like maybe experiencing discomfort. So and they've transcended, have had amazing awakenings. And transcendent levels of consciousness, but it's just there's something different when it's not bad enough, but it is bad, and we pretend like it's not bad enough because at least I don't do that, or I'm not having that experience, right? And so that's why I mean that's almost like it seems more subtle. Actually, the more subtle it is, in essence,
it's almost like the easier it is to ignore it. Right?
Yes.
And actually what I noticed today before our call was I noticed that I start bargaining with myself. Like I'll go, you know, I just need to feel better about myself. Like I just need to lose this 6 pounds that I've probably put on from sugar. So maybe I should start drinking coffee again. And I was talking to these guys about it and they go, yeah, why don't you start smoking as well? Like, let's just add on the habits that can, like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. And that's why it's about getting to the root of why you what is the sweetness that you are lacking that needs to be filled.
You know, and actually that leads me into my other question, because I was going to ask you, with going through the work that you're offering, like I'm currently going through the shadow code. And I mean, that's what I'm saying it's just been incredible and so eye-opening. How pertinent is it to go back in time to our childhood roots to resolve issues?
There's a reason why I hesitate with that question, because It's a fine line. If it's happening now, we're being triggered, we need to find out why. But I've also seen people, so we do need to go back. So, I mean, I do this. One of the first things I'll start with somebody is to do a timeline of their life, because it's clues. They're clues. But I've seen people then get addicted to looking at the trauma of their past, but aren't actually moving through it. So it's having the ability to work with someone that takes you there and brings you through it, and then back into the present moment to make a movement forward. That's where a lot of talk therapy, good or bad, it's not good, it's not bad, I'm just saying, I have also seen people who do it for 20 years. And I'm like, you're talking about this, then it's a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Let's get to the root. But so then we have to, because also, Karina, there's the ancestral stuff we come in with as well. I mean, part of the work I do has to do with systemic issues and systemic traumas, of course. Everything runs through our system, lives in us on a cellular level. And that's when we get into the psychosomatic work, the body-mind connection. But it's all shadow. Shadow is shadow is shadow. It doesn't matter what name you give it, really. So the traumas, the fears, the programming, the conditioning. And so that runs through at the ancestral. I mean, and so I've also seen people like spend their whole lifetime, honestly, they get into ancestral work and then they just end up in the past, living, trying to fix everything for their ancestors. Yeah. Right? So it's a balance. And yeah, so I feel that, yeah, that answers the question. It's like, it is needed, and it is important not to get stuck in it also.
Yeah, I can relate to that because I had done a lot of counseling, and I found that what it did was it almost took me from a place of just numbing the past, pulled me up through the numbing into, oh, I'm a victim.
Yes.
I've been victimized.
Yes. And going, oh, that's why my life is like this. Okay, it's justified. So I can't move forward because this happened. And I don't mean this, even hearing the tone of my voice in a condescending way, but it's a very real thing that happens. I mean, I've worked with hundreds of people, literally. So I see patterns time and time again. They'll get stuck in the story. It's like, yes, we have to go back to see it, but the whole point is to transcend it. So it isn't, so it's literally a shift on a cellular level. We're actually shifting our cellular vibration of it. It's no longer going to live in us, our consciousness, and then down through our cellular structure to our physical form, which then manifests our reality. Because we can get into trauma bonds with our past and comfort that happened. And that's why justification. And then we've done all this work, and now it's like we're justifying our victimhood.
Yes.
And then stuck in it. And I've seen some really amazing people done a lot of great work on themselves who are practitioners or this or that, and they're still smothered in it. And so they're not actually free. It does eventually show itself somewhere.
Yeah.
Not eventually. It shows itself. Eventually, it's showing itself. I mean, within a couple of minutes of talking to someone, it's like, I can be like, okay, that's where the shadow is.
Now, with this shadow work and the psychosomatic connection, do you see, do people feel or experience body changes based on what they've transcended?
Absolutely. And that really is like manifesting 101, right? You change your thoughts, you change your physical reality. But I mean, that's a for real thing. So people, they're like, oh, that's so cool. I'm like, yeah, but it's an actual real thing, which is why my body healed from multiple sclerosis. I mean, it's the only way it heals from multiple sclerosis. You shift the consciousness, matter has to match it.
It is magical.
And I have to add something there because it goes back to your first question. And why does it sometimes not? Why some enlightened beings have ended up having their physical form, maybe stroke at the end of their life or something, because of that if you can be okay, right? I mean, this is high elevated states of consciousness that I'm talking about, where you can be so okay in an enlightened state as you're lying in bed, unable to move. And the soul needs to experience that, but they're whole and they're one and they're content. It's not about healing the body. I mean, that's a highly elevated state for one to be able to get to that place.
Yeah. It's not about the situation. One thing that keeps swirling around in my mind is I get my credit from within. One of the shadows I've grappled with is the child. I act like a child. I'm just going to admit it here in this very public space that, yeah, I grapple with what's known as the shadow of the child. And that's like where I want to get credit. I want attention.
Mm-hmm.
I want to fit in. And when I don't have those things, the thoughts are, I mean, seeing them with the awareness, they're ridiculous. Right? It's absolutely ridiculous. And so I've started saying like, okay, I get my peace, happiness, my feeling of belonging, my credit from within. It's the only way that I can kind of like calm that, like, hey, we're not, don't worry. It's almost like I'm speaking to a child, like, hey, we're not looking to these people to make us feel better. Okay. We're just like, one of my questions was, and I'm just reading it, even though it's 3 words, you'd think I'd remember these 3 words. But one of the things that you say throughout the course is that we have to be willing to do whatever it takes, no matter what. Explain this to me.
You know, I actually heard that from another teacher, and it landed when it landed when I needed to hear it, because there's so much truth in that. One has to, and that's where the true heart's desire. So now we can get into the archetypes, but that's when it's like the desire for truth is so strong that I'm going to do whatever it takes, no matter what, for my soul's evolution and my human experience. Because let me tell you, when the soul is evolving and you're transcending levels of consciousness, that stuff that, you know, people, you read about in books that happens, these amazing experiences, actually becomes a reality. It's a thing. So 2 other words that I say a lot, you've probably noticed as well, as for real.
Yep.
They're very specific, like, but you have to do the thing no matter what, because sometimes the thing is not just, okay, for example, one of the exercises in the program is to clear out. You know this, when you're aware of this one, right? And go through your Facebook page, whatever, and clear out people who aren't actually not your friends and who do not resonate energetically with you. Okay, some people might have a hard time doing that, but they do it. Okay, no big deal. I did it. No matter what, I did it.
Yeah.
But then as they continue to grow and the alignment of truth is asking them to look at their marriage and realize that the truth is that they're not in the marriage that is in alignment with truth, and ask them to make the very real decisions. I mean, that's real, Karina.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got goosebumps, like
doing the thing that is not, and this is not a mental thing. That's why this work is, again, I say, like, when people ask me what I do and such, like, oh, that's so cool, shadow work. Yeah. And I'm like, someone saying that to me, I'm like, they haven't transcended shadow. Because I don't want to say there's nothing cool about it, but that's just not the word. What I would use is, it's very real. And yet what you get as a result of transcending it is very real. You heal from physical diseases. I mean, that's just like, I'd say that was like how many years ago, over a decade ago, Karina. I can't even, you know, I could add on to that list, ad infinitum. Forever.
I don't know. Yeah, forever. Let's simplify that.
Forever. What happens is, as you transcend shadow, which is really transcending levels of consciousness, which is really having a psychic change and elevating your state of being to your highest potential, when your genius starts to come forth into your lived experience, the looking for your purpose is not a thing anymore. Everybody's looking for the purpose. I'm like, forget your purpose. Do your inner work, transcend your shadows, and your purpose, which is your life's work, right? Your genius will be revealed. It's not something you have to go look. All of a sudden you're like, oh, wow, this is happening now. It's becoming the observer to a whole different level. Because being the observer is not a new thing. I mean, oh my goodness, the yogic teachings and all the meditation teachings, and right? But this is what happens for real, where I'm literally walking through my life going, I can't believe that just happened. And I love that I'm still in the state of awe all the time. If there's one prayer I have is please keep me always in the state of awe, because I am like still the humility of like, is anyone else paying attention to what's going on? I can't even put it into words to try to explain it sometimes. First of all, it gets diluted. It's like between the divine and the soul, it's in here. And plus it's just like, how would you even explain? I mean, it's mind boggling.
I mean,
I don't even know what your question was, but that was my answer.
Don't you feel like I'm just gonna like go up onto the rooftops and yell like, hey, everyone, I found the solution. It's right here.
I got a Facebook page and I got an Instagram because I was guided to do it, right? Which is funny because as you transcend shadow and your genius emerges, as I've transcended shadow and my genius has emerged, I'm doing the things that I remember telling my partner in all things, life and our life's work. I'm never doing that. Okay, I'll do all the, I'm never doing that. And then a year later, I hear the guidance. Oh, I woke up one morning, I'm like, Paula, we need an Instagram account. He's like, poor guy's been telling me that. I'm like, I'm never doing that. And so it's a different sort of, you hear the guidance, you do the thing, because consciousness, the guidance, go back a second. The guidance is not streaming through my fears or my program conditioning or my opinions, my humanness, because that shadow has been transcended of any idea I had about, say, let's use Instagram as an example, right? Any story I had around it, the human had around it, has been dissolved. And so now it's like, oh, do that. Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah. And
not a thing.
That's what I wondered, is if it's coming from shadow, A, is there a story attached to it? And B, is it bringing us inward as opposed to the light, which is expansive and there's no story?
Yes. Both of those absolute capital yes. The other thing about the light is, I mean, there's people can get stuck in the light workers and light and love, and still be smothered in shadow because they're doing it not from what people, that's a whole conversation. There's no mistakes. My work with people is to guide them to transcend their shadows so they hear their own inner guidance. So they don't have to go to someone to get their guidance. We are, as a collective, the collective consciousness is shifting into a different realm right now. We are more connected than we ever have been. Okay, which is quite ironic because we're also in COVID. Yeah. But in a way we are. But we are actually, the collective has been over the past, since 2012, and there's things that are going on beyond that, more connected. And so it's almost like the days of going to the guru. We still listen. I'm not saying don't go to gurus. I respect, I've gone to gurus. I've had the most amazing teachers. What I've learned is respect the teacher, honor the teachings. They're two separate things.
Interesting.
Right? Yeah. So for me, it's about, let's transcend your shadow so you can hear your guidance. So then when you are called to go to that guru, that's the one that is of the highest vibration that matches yours. A lot of people are like, oh my God, those gurus are, I'm going to say things that's going to piss people off right now. Doing all these, abusing their powers, let's say.
Right.
I have to say, that is just more victim consciousness that we can put ourselves in to say someone has used their power over me. What is really going on? when a guru, we've put them on a pedestal.
Yes.
Right. So be aware of
Yes.
who you're following and choosing to follow. And plus, there's always a lesson within anything that unfolds. There's an opportunity to transcend that state. And the thing is, Karina, as you've known me over the years as well, but I cannot even start to tell you how many teachers, how many trainings, how many workshops, how many programs for almost 2 decades. I mean, so it's not like it's not a matter of don't, but what I'm saying is it comes down to what I've learned is transcend your shadows. And that's right now I can take people very quickly. They don't have to go do all the things. And it's okay if people do all the things. I mean, so some people are going to come to me because I hold the codes for them.
Yeah.
And some people are going to go wherever they're going to go and have the experience that they're going to experience. And yet it doesn't have to take decades, and it does take decades. Like it depends on the individual. But with transcending shadow, it is bringing to the surface the thing so quickly and right here, because we work within the field of truth, and that holds. I mean, it is a vibration. It's not just like a high vibration. It is the highest vibration.
Yeah. Now, knowing this, why would you say that only 1% of people will actually do the work?
Karina says that because I actually say 1%. That's why do I say that? Because really, that's how few in this lifetime.
And do you think it's just a matter of, like what we talked about, the sugar addiction, like there's just not enough there to go, it's worth doing all this work?
Yes. It's kind of like, it's just not worth it. I couldn't be bothered. It's not bad enough. It's okay. The mind will keep us stuck for lifetimes.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important, more and more important to get this out there for the people who are ready. Or maybe people who maybe they like the sugar, the ones who are just okay. Maybe there is something more.
That's what I wonder is also for the 99% that maybe don't do the work thoroughly. There's possibly a door opening there.
There's always a door opening.
The door has opened.
Yes.
It's like I used to hear, all you have to do is be willing to be willing.
Yes.
And I'd go, okay, I'm very visual. So I'd imagine like me cracking the door open just a little bit. Like just to go, okay, I'm going to crack the door open. I'm not going to throw it open.
So all you need is a crack.
Yeah.
That's all that's needed. Yeah. And sometimes, and it's not black and white. It's just not black and white. It's just, it's what it is. It's many different experiences of awakening, transcending, and, as our humans, as our souls.
And would you say that this is a lifetime work, that like constantly tending to a garden, like pulling the weeds?
There's a tipping point where you walk into a whole different field. It's a whole different field that you walk into. So, and again, it depends on the person. How many weeds do they have? What does their garden look like? Right?
Messy.
It doesn't, it doesn't have to be an ongoing thing. I think that's what people think. I'm going to have to be doing my personal work forever. And it doesn't have to be. It most definitely doesn't have to be. But then there's a tipping point that you move into a different field where you've surrendered, and then you've surrendered, and then you've surrendered again, and then you've surrendered again, and then you realize, I'm going to surrender again. And at some point it shifts, and it's like you've entered the field of magic with a capital M, which is the field of the divine. And yes, we're always in the field of the divine. So there's the paradox again. We're in the field of the divine, but then we're stepping into the field of the divine, but where things are happening like this. So even if something comes up, it's just like it gets shredded, like literally, because there's at some point this is where the desire has to be there to want to change.
I mean, I hear that and I'm like, put me in the 1%, because I want to experience that. I think it's beautiful the way you explained it. Like it pops up,
you can
shredded.
But you can.
And I will.
And you will. And most definitely, because we can decide to be the 1%. It's not like I'm born the 1% and you're born the 1% and she's not. So maybe next lifetime, she'll be the 1%. At any time, we can choose to be the 1% at any moment. First of all, we need the awareness of what's actually going on. And then it's like, what do I need to do? Well, I'll tell you, this is what I do. I tell people what they need to do. And then they're like they're looking for a door number 2. And I'm like, I'm a 1-door deal over here. I'm like, truth? I'm the door of truth. I'm like, if you want to come in, it's not to be a hard ass. It's like, I am not doing a service to anyone if they're saying they want it. So I'm like, okay, well, this is the thing. This is your shadow. This is the behavior. And we can analyze it. We go to the past. We can see which ancestor it was. We can see which childhood experience it was. Yes, I'll do that with you. And then we'll bring you up into the present moment. And this is what you need to do, that you can do, that you're able to do, that you're willing to do, that if you are willing to do right now. And then it's like, oh.
You know what it reminds me of? I want to get an A on my next assignment. Okay. Teachers give you a criteria. Mm-hmm. You got to do this, that you want an A, you got to do this. This will give you a B. Like, that's what they do nowadays in high school. They basically lay it out for you.
Really?
You want an A? Do this. You want a B? Do this. You want a C? Do this. And there's still kids who are going to go, yeah, I don't really want to do all that A work.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it's just too much.
And the important thing is that there cannot be any shame and guilt and judgment of oneself. Like, oh, I'm not the 1%. I don't want to be the 1%. And then I'm just smothered in shadow again. Yeah. It's almost just like, keep it simple with this work. It's like, here's the awareness, because this work I don't even like calling it this work. It's not like a modality. It's not work. It's not like like something I invented.
What do we call it? What do we call it? Practice. Truth?
Following truth.
This truth.
Following the truth.
The truth.
This is where people get confused. I'm speaking my truth. And they think it's subjective. No, actually, there is a field of where truth is just truth. Let me try to explain this, because it is something that does confuse people. If I go visit with a friend, but I don't want to go visit with a friend, but I do it anyway because I should go visit with a friend, and I'm not even realizing I'm doing this. And yet after I visit with that friend, I just feel like, that's not truth. The motivation behind that was not truth. The truth is that I only went because I'm worried what she's going to think of me, or because I have to people please her, or I can't let her down because of what she's going to think of me. There's a story around it. That's not truth. Yeah. What's truth? Actually, it's not going to work for me right now. And I can allow her to have her opinions. I can honor and respect her enough to allow her to have her opinions of me, or allow her to be upset if she is, because I'm not going to go meet with her or whatever. So this is a very simple example of what following truth is and what it isn't. It's not subjective. So
let me ask you this then. Is that the no matter what? If I get an invitation, somewhere, and suddenly I'm like, ugh, I don't want to go. I don't want to say yes to this. It's like, okay, no matter what, I need to stand in the truth. Yeah. Which is, because there can be so much story like, well, I'm a bad person if I don't go. That's the truth. Yes. But it's not though, right? If you're driven to not go to something.
It's not black and white. So what I want to say to that is, right, the truth is that you're not in alignment with it. You don't have your heart's desire. You're getting a no. At some point, what happens when you transcend shadow, your guidance, your intuition, your higher self, anyone can call it whatever that is for them, their connection to the field, to the divine, et cetera, et cetera. If it's like a no, and we don't go, and we do go, then we're in shadow. Okay, but wait, just hold on. Or we're in truth and we say, okay, we're not going to go. Okay. Or at least if we do go, own it, say, okay, so I'm not feeling that, but I am going to go because whatever.
I consciously choose to go.
It actually is her 50th birthday. And you know what? On the whole realm scheme of my life, I know probably maybe one day I'll be like, yeah, that it won't be so, whatever. I'm making a story up now, right? But at
Well,
least when I go, I own it in my power, and then I don't become a victim to it. And oh, I had a crappy time and I shouldn't have come. And why did I come? I didn't follow truth. Like then there's another story around it. Be empowered in it no matter what. So it goes, no matter what goes there as well. But nobody makes us do anything, right? Or not do anything. So there's many ways that it's not just black and white.
yeah. And actually, I have one more example, and then I have a final question for you. I'm getting like, you know what, we're done. No, it's not you. It's not you. It's just, hey, this is how we roll here, okay?
Done.
We're done here.
All right. What? Well,
Okay,
what's your question?
so-
I might answer it. I don't know.
Okay, so my in-laws were in town. They
Okay,
asked.
so now you want some therapy.
No. I'm just gonna explain what went on. So they asked
Okay.
for us to host a barbecue with the whole family.
Mhm.
And my immediate was like this. And it actually is because I don't think I'm a good hostess. And I'm an anxious hostess and I
There you
get
go.
stressed out.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to transcend. I didn't have those words, but I was trying to overcome my fears around
Mhm.
being a bad hostess and not
Mhm.
being good enough and not having, maybe I wasn't going to have everything timed perfectly.
Mhm.
So what I tried to do was just let go of perfect
Yes.
and just go, you know what? I'm going to try to show up the best that I can. And actually it ended up being a beautiful thing. But had I just listened to the immediate no, I would have found some excuse not to do it.
Shadow is tricky. It's a
So
shapeshifter.
tricky.
It can convince us that it's truth.
Yes.
So until we actually have become so refined to the voice of shadow, then we stop and we go, what is really going on here? And we go through the process, and I guess this might answer one of your questions from before. I'm not always going to be pulling out my forms and papers and writing out for the rest of my life. When, eventually it just happens in the moment. You start to hear the voice of shadow very clearly. But until then, you have to be careful because shadow can disguise itself and convince you it's true. Say, I'm in my sovereign.
Yeah.
We're talking about the archetypes. So I'm in my sovereign, and I say, nope, I don't want them to come. You can tell the energy is going to be your indicator as well. You can feel it energetically because there's power can come from big P power or small P power. And this is where people get confused as well. Small P power, which is the finite ego self power, is power over. And it's no, I'm not going to do it, but it's more, I'm exaggerating it, but it's an energetic thing. You can feel it inside.
Yeah.
Whereas big P power is like, oh no, I get a no for that. Like say it was a no, say just whatever. Oh, it's a no, and that's okay. And then there's no story. As soon as you have a story, it's probably good, very good indicator that shadow is present for sure.
I like that. Actually, sorry, I lied. I have two more questions because I forgot. There was a big one because I think sometimes people wonder, is this work? I know we're calling it work, but is this for me? And what I wanted to ask you is, what are some good indicators that you are functioning from a place of shadow at some point in your life? Now, I know story is one. Well, I know that I just read a whole list of them, like getting triggered, feeling demotivated.
Confusion in relationships, patterns, things that keep happening, like, oh, I can't believe I did that again, or fatigue or exhaustion. Oh, fatigue, exhaustion, anxiety, depression, addictions of all sorts. So shopping, sex, right? A feeling of being depleted and collapsing. So then that's why you get into the psychosomatics of it. Your body, look at your posture in the mirror, and you can pretty quickly see if the shadow is present. Like, how are you sitting or standing, right? Financial issues. all the top things that the self-help industry markets you for. The money, what is it? The money, the sex, the relationships, the health, and I think there's a fifth one, but I mean, you get what I'm saying. It's we struggle. We are not meant to struggle, and that's easy to say, and it's been said many times, and it sounds great to think that we don't have to struggle. We don't have to struggle, and the reason why one of my gifts is that I can say this is because from the womb I came in. The consciousness that was me that came into this room was struggle, that came into this life experience was struggle from the womb because of my life experience, my mother's disease, and then my father's disease. I came into a field of struggle and pain and fatigue, and then addictions from age 13, and then manifesting MS, which is what my mother had, and having debilitating parents, both sick by the time I was age 12, basically both. My dad couldn't talk, he had a stroke, couldn't talk, and never worked again. My mother was bedridden until her death 25 years later. Basically, I raised myself from age 13. I laugh because I wasn't qualified. That's for sure. I'm not sure if any 13-year-old is. And so we're not meant for that. And if you would have asked me this, over 16 years ago, like I would say, yeah, of course I've struggled. That's what life is. So I'm actually saying this from the future of any struggle, because it wasn't just family trauma, addictions, and physical disease that were the struggles, all the things that were attached to that as well, the relationships, the everything in my particular case. And because when shadow's in one place, I mean, it's not, I shouldn't say just my particular case, it is for everyone, because you have, some people think they just have shadow in their health, but it's actually the shadow in their finances that is causing the issue in their health.
Yeah. Or it's like, oh, you know what? I just have shadow in this one relationship.
Yes. And it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. I mean, when shadow is present, it runs through every aspect of our life. It's just in some aspects of our life, we're able to hide it better. Shadow is there to show us what it is that our soul is looking to transcend for its evolution into higher levels of consciousness. And that's when we come back to the next. That's a whole big conversation. What does that even mean? It means it's not just about this 3D lived experience. It's about about the soul's evolution, the infinite spirit self, not the finite human. This is going to be gone. This beautiful vessel is what's giving me the form in which to have these experiences so that I can transcend, so my soul can evolve. And so shadow holds our gifts and our genius. It holds on to them. It's kind of like it's the hidden treasure that nobody wants to look there. So what I tell people, let's dive straight into your shadow, because the only thing that's keeping people from doing that is fear. And fear is an illusion. Well, actually, shadow equals fear, period. That's all it is.
Yeah, but I'm actually really glad that you brought that up, that shadow is the gift that we just need to go into and unwrap to see.
As soon as you transcend it, your energy, your power, which is actually why a lot of people, when they do the thing that transcends their shadow, no matter what, they start to have a lot of very real physical experiences. So one for sure that happens almost is they start crying uncontrollably because they're having a physical somatic release, or the body starts to shiver or shake, or has some sort of somatic experience on the physical realm. So these things aren't just happening in consciousness. We're having consciousness, and therefore we're having a physical response to them. And then there's a burst of energy that is released. It's like a part of us is released that we actually weren't even aware was there. Yeah, and it's a very real thing.
It's like I can feel it. I mean, I can feel shadow. I can feel it physically.
It's contracting.
It's contracting. It's like tight in the chest, or like tight in the solar plexus, or So what I wanted to ask is, how can people work with you? I mean, I'm going through the shadow code. What else do you offer?
Well, we're just actually getting ready to launch. This past year has been just extraordinary in the creation of the website, sacredshifts.com. Oh, this last year has just been magic, big M, really. I was waking up and I just literally would go to your computer and I would just type and create. It's just been amazing. I've been watching this all unfold. And so we have the Shadow Code program. There's also going to be well, there's quite a few different ways, actually, Karina. The entry is, they can get into the Taste of Truth private Facebook group, which is, I mean, it's all you have to really do, I believe, to get into that group is download the Taste of Truth guide from the website. Or we're going to be launching it out, but I can't tell you right now where that's going to be because it's kind of going to be everywhere. Yeah. But they can find that through the website, because that's just an intro to the work and it's not for everyone. And so I like to tell them this is what it is. And then if you're a yes, then you come into the group. So that's the first entry. And then all my offerings are on my website as well. There's one-on-one, but that is more limited to who I work with in the one-on-one. And I'm also going to be doing a 3-month container of taking 6 souls through the Shadow Code for 3 months. And that's going to be at the beginning of next year. And so there's a few different options, but I mean, the first one is to get into the Taste of Truth private Facebook group. We're just launching all this. I mean, I'm getting ready to go on a plane. I'm literally being launched because I'm going to Greece, because that part of the world is calling me right now, the Mediterranean, all that. And so I'm launching as I'm literally launching. Yeah. So that's when our outer world, like, and this kind of wasn't planned. I don't have plans. I get shown what is happening. I get guided, and then I just kind of go, this is what's happening. So I love that. So yeah. And it's sacredshifts.com. Yeah. Correct? Yes. And then Taste of Truth. So you download that. I mean, there's the Sacred Shifts Facebook page, and then they could go there as well. Okay. I think there's a couple of them. But I am so excited about all of this. I'm excited about the process, and I'm looking forward to, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just here to see what unfolds. So I'm excited for you because you just did your first show of some show that we're not sure what show it is, but an unnamed show. Thank you for being my first guest. The non-show, call it the non-show, the no-show, the no-name brand show, the no-name brand show, the no-show. I just being in your energy, Karina. I just love you to bits. You know that. I love you too. Yeah, I really like. What I love is that how we reconnected, which was so perfect, of course. Yes. Naturally. We've done that though. We've done that weaving in our almost 11-year relationship. Yep. It's like, oh, you know what? Connect. Yep. I usually show up in Karina's dreams is how we connect. So yeah. If right after I've thought of her, she dreams about me. And then we reconnect. Yeah. And actually, I think that you're the only person that happens with. Cool. So go figure. Love it. It's magical. I love it. And anytime that I get a text from you and you're like, I had a dream about you, I'm like, let's talk. Yeah. What's going on? Yes. So thank you. Thank you for this. It's been fun. Thank you so much. Yes. And all the best with your show. Thank you. That's so exciting. All right. Okay, my love. See you later. Bye. Bye.